everybody. Welcome to Peace, Love, and Chaos. I'm Kelly Cameron. How you doing? How's your peace? How's your love? How's your chaos? How's it going? There's all the things going on for sure. I think that's kind of any given day and time, even more so now, potentially. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, about grief. And it's a lot of you know, it's been a little over a year now since my dad has passed, and he was always a huge part of my life. We always had a very close relationship, and yeah, going through that really personal loss, there was a lot going on at the time, so it wasn't just his illness and decline and passing. It was all sorts of other things. But I was talking to this friend of mine. We hadn't talked for a while, and her dad and my dad were very similar personalities. So we always bonded um, over our dads. And she lost her dad a number of years ago. But she asked me, she said, "Do you feel like the fog is starting to lift?" And I hadn't thought about even being inundated with a fog or having a fog like over me or around me for the last year or so. But as soon as she said that, that resonated so deeply with me. Yes, I do. I feel that shift now. And I can see, hindsight is always 2020. I can see looking back that the last year and a couple of months, like there has definitely been a fog. And I very intentionally just kind of cocooned myself, um, did the things that I needed to do, work and kids and dogs and household and all of that fun stuff, of course. Um, but not a lot extra, really not a lot extra. I took really good care of myself. I was very gentle with myself. And if I needed extra naps, I took extra naps. And if I just needed to relax and not think about stuff, that's what I did. And so this thought of this perspective of a fog really emerging from the fog, it's so it's so interesting and so true. And it's a kind of gradual, I suppose. Um, yeah, and it doesn't have to be with the loss of uh, somebody or a parent or somebody close. It could be um, there's a lot of loss that we experience. So loss of relationships, loss of work, loss of a job, or a career, or the ending of something. It could just, like maybe retirement, or um, kids are moving out and being adults or going off to college. So it could just be big changes, big milestones um, that that's life changing. That could be kind of a loss, or there's a grieving process of what was and shifting and transitioning into what is, whatever the new state is. And so, yeah, it's just been interesting. And of course, when it comes to death, we all deal with it a little bit differently. I always noticed my mom's side of the family versus my dad's side of the family, very different approaches to death. And yeah, just interesting to witness the differences because um, some families that maybe they don't talk about it so much. It's very formal. Um, the the milestones are passed through, um, and maybe that's kind of it, and you just deal with it on your own. And other families, maybe there's there's a lot going on. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of talking about memories, maybe, like the memorial service process. There's like maybe a wake and a big service and a lot of gathering and um, storytelling and memories and then what's next? Like all the legal stuff or the stuff that needs to be taken care of. Um, for my dad, a lot of his friends had come and said their goodbyes. He had been sick for the better part of, all last year, battling cancer and went through chemo and radiation, and things seemed to be getting better. Um, we, he got to do a lot of things that he wanted to do, like spend time with the grandkids and see sports and spend some holidays and some good quality time. And, it's never enough. It's never enough. There's always things that you wish you could say, or tensions or misunderstandings that you wish you could resolve, of course. And so then towards the end of um, 2023, he got really sick and, in and out of the hospital. And I spent a lot of time there and um, trying to get his things in order. And we didn't know that it was, we were very hopeful that treatment would continue to be successful. And so we were making plans to, where could he live, where he could still have independence, but support and maybe like an assisted living place or something. And oh my gosh, I remember that conversation. His whole life, from my sisters and I, he would always say, "Don't you ever put me in a home. I will cut you out of the will, and I will disown you. Don't you ever put me in a home." And of course, we had this discussion. I'm like, well, first of all, there is you got nothing to give as far as like an estate goes. But let's be real. Let's be realistic. And if you're on your own somewhere and you're taking a shower and you have trouble getting in or out of the tub or something and you fall, who's gonna know? How am I gonna know? And if I live, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 minutes away from you and I call to check on you because I don't know what's going on with you and maybe haven't heard from you in a couple of hours. Are you sleeping? Are you taking naps? Is everything fine? You watching TV? Or did you fall and you need some help? How do we deal with that? Um, I'm like, are you gonna call and check in with me like every hour? And if I don't hear from you, I'm gonna panic and call you. And if you don't answer, you don't pick up, I'm gonna, drop everything and run and see what's going on and find that you're just asleep on the couch. I mean, that's not a life for any of us. That's it was just like very high stress and high anxiety. So we had that conversation and he had agreed, okay, maybe I do need some help. I do need some assistance and maybe I can't do this all on my own. And um, that was indeed the case. He was back home after he got out of hospital and rehab for a little bit. He wanted to be back in his own space, and we were in the midst of transitioning to a different space for him, but he wanted to be in the place that was home for him for the last, 2.5 years or so. It was comfortable. It was um, just supportive. He really resonated with the space, and um, yeah, he was there for a few days, and then he fell. He fell sometime like early in the morning or middle of the night or something, and he couldn't get up. And um, yeah, there was a whole thing to that, of course. Um, we're able to get in finally and get him uh, taken to the hospital and checked out and make sure that he wasn't in pain, that he wasn't, nothing was broken. And I have this a weird sense that, he made his peace when he was home for a few days before all of that drama happened. And if you know my dad, you know that there was always drama and stories and entertainment. There was always the entertainment factor to bring in some of those stories because, um, yeah, he lived a pretty wild life, that's for sure. So, going out on a chaotic theme for sure was totally his style. So, we got him checked out, got him set up in a hospice facility, very beautiful facility. And there's a family connection there. My uncle's firm designed it from an architecture aspect, and my aunt, the charity that she was on the board of that year, she helped make sure that there was funding for it, and that was, gosh, that was like 10 years ago or something like that. But so my dad got to be there, and it was just a lovely facility. They took such good care of him. Um, and it was just a few days after that he was only there a few days before he passed. But I really do think that he made a decision, that he made a choice, that he had made his peace. A lot of his friends had come and hung out with him in the last, few weeks or so. Um, told stories and reconnected, had conversations. And so a lot of them actually didn't come to the service because they felt complete, that they had really um, said their piece. He seemed at peace as well. Um, yeah, we spent some one day, like for hours, just talking for hours and hours. And that was really the last time that he and I really spent some good time. And that was about 4 or 5 days before he passed. Um, so I miss him, and I'm glad that he's not suffering, that he's not in pain. He was in a lot more pain than any of us realized. He was very stoic about it. So I'm glad that he's not in pain. I'm glad that he's resting easy and not stressed out about what's next. And, taking care of all of his stuff, shutting down, getting certificates and making sure that Social Security knows, and Medicare, and putting his stuff in storage, and then figuring out what to do with all the stuff in storage. And really, I spent over a year just living life kind of on the surface level, the things that I had to do. And as the excuse me, as the emotions would come on, they hit you unexpectedly. And sometimes, you're expecting it, like the first year of all the firsts. So, his first birthday without him, first Father's Day without him, all of our first birthdays without him. Just, milestones or little things that catch you, like, oh, our building, excuse me, there was a big giant crane on our building, his old building. Um, and they were shooting concrete up on the roof of the building. And it was like quite a sight to see, and I knew that he would love that. He would have watched that for hours. He would have been so excited about it. Um, one of one of the grandsons playing baseball, and the whole reason that he's playing baseball is because Papa really liked baseball and really liked. He always tried to go to as many Diamondbacks games as he could and had tickets and would take, take the kids, take the grandkids. And so um, knowing that that grandkid is playing baseball uh, for Papa, for himself, but also for Papa, that's so that's so meaningful. And what a tribute, what a tribute. Um, I'm gonna try to catch a couple games, just kind of that support of the aunt and also the papa. So yeah, marking time through that year and going through the holidays again, um, without dad. It's been interesting, been really interesting. And I was listening to a Brene Brown podcast last week or so, the week before. I think that's maybe what inspired me to talk about this. Um, so Brene Brown and her younger sisters, her twin younger sisters, they talked about losing their mom. Their mom had been in a memory care facility for, I think, like 4 or 5 years, something like that. And then she finally passed on, I think, on a Christmas, Christmas before last. And their personalities, birth order and personalities, and how they show up in the world and how they operate in the world. And Brene being the oldest, the kind of take charge, get things done. Um, we gotta take care of the things, and the twin sisters being younger, they're all fully adults, but still, like, how we deal with stress, how we deal with loss. And it was just interesting to hear them talk about the little things that impacted them, like going to the memory care facility to visit their mom, knowing that maybe she wouldn't recognize them, or probably didn't recognize them for who they were, but could remember things from way back in her past, like movies or music or something like that, and how they all coped. And I know that, um, again, we all cope differently. So maybe one of these days I'll get a sister or two on a recorded conversation and we can talk more about that. But I found it kind of interesting, realizing that I am emerging from the fog. I am feeling um, less dulled and, well, and gosh, like from a 50-something-year-old physicality aspect, finally getting through perimenopause, that doesn't help. That doesn't help anybody feel sharp. So um, maybe it was all by design that it all happened kind of at once. So yeah, feeling that emergence, feeling more alive, feeling like I'm coming out of the cocoon and interested in embracing life again. Not that I was living, but very intentionally in a quiet space. This is our little haven, our little sanctuary up here that was Papa's condo. And we're able to have a view kind of above the city, and watch things from afar and not be in the thick of it if we don't want to. So that, I think, that has been apropos. Anyway, yeah. So emerging from grief, and what are the other things that we go through, that we grieve, or that there's a sense of loss, and how do we deal with those things, and how they impact our lives and our intention for how to deal with them. And I know some people also, another way of sort of getting through it is ignoring it. So some people bury themselves in work or bury themselves in projects or other things so that they don't have to think about it and they don't have to feel. Um, and I find that that's that's potentially just delaying the inevitable. You're storing all these emotions and things, and they're eventually going to come exploding out of you at some point, or imploding, one of the two or both. So I tend to like to deal with things as they come and sit with them and just do just do my best as a human here. Um, yeah, that feels kind of complete now. Yeah. I hope if you're dealing with loss or grief or big life changes that you're able to be kind to yourself and sit with it and let it pass and not necessarily hold on to it. And if it takes longer than you think it should, it takes longer than you think it should. It takes as long as it takes. And I know that just because I feel like the fog is lifting, there's still going to be moments that knock me off my block, or that surprise me, or that, tug on my heartstrings, and then I miss dad all over again. Um, that's okay. That's part of being human. Yeah. Anyway, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Thanks.